On today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you my Felix Pullover as part of the Felix for Fall knit along. I also have a tiny pair of fire pit mitts that I'm working on for my son. And then at the end of the episode, I'm going to be sharing with you some future knitting plans as I've been taking stock of some of the knitted accessories I think we're going to need in my family as the temperatures start to drop. So grab something cozy to drink, your project, and let's jump in. Hello, and welcome to episode 63 of the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Tayler, and I am going to be your host. I'm coming to you from Henderson, Nevada, which is a city outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, in the southwest United States. This is where I am from and where I live with my husband, Brandon, our 4-year-old son, Ronan, our 7-year-old son, Aengus, our dog, Pepper, and our cat, Oscar. Welcome! Happy Sunday, or whatever day it is that you're watching this. It's so lovely to be here with you guys today, chatting about all of this that I have behind me. There's a lot going on back there. I have a lot to share with you guys. I want to take a minute to thank you for being here. It means so much to me. I value you and your viewership much more than you probably realize. So thank you. Welcome and welcome back if you are a returning viewer and subscriber. Before I jump into all of this that I have going on back here, I do want to go into some admin-y stuff really quick. The first of that being that there is a knit along going on for the podcast. It is the Felix for Fall knit along. We are knitting Felix pullovers or Felix cardigans by Amy Christophers. You can read all about that over on the Ravelry group. I'll link to all of that down below. So just go down in the description box. You can find all of that information over there. And if you already have a work in progress for a Felix, whether it's the cardigan or the pullover going, jump in anyway because whips are completely welcome. So that is going on right now. Ending at the end of December, I'm thinking you can learn all about that by heading down below in the description box, linking off to Ravelry, and you can also get involved on Instagram by using the hashtag FelixForFallKAL. All right, number 2 on the docket. You may know, you may not know that I am the yarn dyer for Fiber for the People Yarn. That is my hand-dyed yarn business. I am having a shop update on Saturday, November 12th. You can head over to @fiber.for.the.people on Instagram, or you can go to fiberforthepeople.com, or you can just go down to the description box and link to anything that I mentioned here right down there. To learn more about Fiber for the People, definitely sign up for the Fiber for the People newsletter so you can stay in the loop of all things Fiber for the People and when I'm having my shop updates. But if you really just want to peruse the Fiber for the People yarn world, I guess you could say Instagram is a really great place to go for that. But like I mentioned, the next shop update is Saturday, November 12th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. All right, last but not least, if you would like to show your support for the channel here at Wool Needles Hands, you can visit our merch shop. We have a merchandise shop for the channel. You can find it at woolneedleshandsmerch.com or, of course, link down below in the description box. There's all sorts of cute swag over there, from shirts to bags to coffee mugs, lots of cute conversation starters, I guess you could say. Definitely check it out, and that's a really great way to give back to the channel. It means so much to me, especially moving forward with some of these series that I have planned. That financial support is really, really helpful. So thank you to everybody who has made a purchase from the merch shop. You have no idea how helpful that is. It means a lot. Your support is just fantastic, so thank you. Okay, like I said, I am going to share with you what I am wearing today, and you guys, I'm not going to lie, part of the reason why I'm going to jump into sharing this with you right now is because there's a good chance this is going to come off because I am toasty in here right now. So just forewarning you, if my wardrobe changes, that's why. But let's go ahead and dive into what this is. This is probably... it's funny, I didn't put this on my favorite knitted items video a few videos ago. I don't believe that I did, which is really strange. And I think it's because I had just shared it on a previous episode of the podcast. But when it comes to the sweaters I've knit that I go to throw on that I know will go with anything, this is that. This is the No Frills sweater by Petite Knit. I knit this a couple years ago. Well, it was in the works between 2019 and 2021, but I finished it off in 2021, and I love it. I knit this using Fiber for the People yarn. There are 2 different yarn colorways going on here, and I'll pop some pictures up so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. The base color that's giving it that really pretty teal is Sapphire, Fiber for the People, and then the mohair that you see on top is what's giving it that variegation, and that is Angel Rust. I'm gonna get a little bit closer so you can kind of see what I mean. But you can see that there's that teal color in the background, and then on top of that is that really beautiful variegated mohair, and that's creating all of that beautiful, the striations that you see there. It's lovely. So that is Sapphire in the background, Angel Rust on top, and I love this sweater. It just wears beautifully. It fits just right. It's so cozy. It's got mohair, so it's warm. If I had just knit this in kind of like a wool yarn, or even like a Surrey alpaca instead of the mohair, Surrey's way better at controlling and regulating temperature than mohair is. Mohair is just like hot. It wouldn't be quite as like warm as it is. And I think in future, because I do plan on knitting this again, I would definitely do it with a Surrey as opposed to the mohair. But despite all of that, I love this sweater. I get compliments on it, which make me just glow, because then I'm able to say, I made this. Believe it or not, I made it. Not only did I make it, I dyed the yarn. And so it's just, I don't know, I just love it. It's so cozy. It's like a warm and cozy hug. And with where I live in southern Nevada, which is in the Mojave Desert, which is the hottest desert in the United States. And I live in the second hottest city in the country. And so things like this don't get worn a lot throughout the year. But despite living in a really hot region of the country, we do have 4 solid seasons. We're super hot during the hot season, but then after the hot season is over, summer, we get other solid seasons. And so in the winter, it does get really cold. But because we're in this like dry climate, the temperatures never get to the point where you have to have a coat on. It's very rare. And unless you just happen to be out on a really cold day, wearing something like this as your kind of like your outerwear is perfectly appropriate. This can keep you warm in the winters that we do have. Sometimes, I mean, it's lovely when it happens, but sometimes we get snow and sometimes we just get really frigid temperatures and you have to have a coat. But for the most part, you can get away with throwing something like this on as your top piece, your outerwear piece, and it serves its purpose. So wearing it inside right now is a little much, just because it's not terribly cold in the house. I'm really, starting to second guess it, but we'll see how long I can make it, just so that you can see it in all of its glory, because it is a really fantastic sweater. So yeah, this is the No Frills by Petite Knit. It is a knit that takes a long time. It tends to become kind of sloggy, but it's completely worth all of that. Like, I plan on knitting another one of these, like, not even a question. It's absolutely worth it. So just my recommendation. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to start, I only have 2 works in progress that I'm going to share with you today. I have more than that I have been working on, but 2 that I'm going to share with you today because they're the ones that I'm kind of most devoted to at the moment. The first is a pair of little mini fire pit mitts. Now, the fire pit mitts are a fingerless mitten pattern that I wrote like 3 years ago, maybe even more than that. But it's just your basic fingerless mitten. Kind of has some shaping in the arm if you choose to knit the longer version, but there is a shorter version. It's just basic. It's just a basic fingerless mitten pattern. You can throw it on. It goes with everything. No frills, no ribbing, nothing. It's just a really cool fingerless mitten pattern. And so my son, and I have not knit much for my boys, and this is something I was going to bring up at the end of the episode, but I just have not knit much for them. I knit them each, I knit my youngest a blanket for when he was born and a pair of pants. But my oldest, I didn't knit him a blanket. He didn't get a lot of knitted items when he was really little, only because my knitting really picked up after, he was born. And so I wasn't doing a lot of that knitting while I was pregnant with him. But I don't know. I don't feel drawn to knit for my children. And I don't know what that means about me. I think it's because, I don't know. I don't really know what that means about me. But that's changed a little bit because as they've gotten older and they play outside all the time and it's starting to get really cold, they start becoming more aware of the things that they need to keep them warm because they think about it more. They're getting older, they're more aware, whereas before you just put the stuff on them and then they go out and they wear it and they don't even think about it. And so Aengus, my oldest, came to me and he asked me if I could knit him a pair of mittens, that his hands get cold when he rides his bike and his scooter outside, and that he doesn't like the little gloves that he has. And it was something about the moment where he asked me if I could knit him a pair of mittens, where it was like my heart melted a little bit. Not like I have an icy heart, but like it just warmed my heart. And I felt like, yes, like I can knit you mittens. I can do that for you. I can knit you mittens. I can knit you a hat. I can knit you a sweater. I can knit you anything that you need to keep you warm. And so it motivated me. It kind of charged me up to start knitting things for my kids, because they're at this age where they can appreciate it and find value in it. And I guess that's maybe what it is that when you knit for somebody, you want to know that that person's going to appreciate the work and the time that you put into that thing, and then the thing itself. Because if you feel like it's being given to somebody who just thinks, oh, this is great, yeah, I need a hat. Or, oh, this is great, yeah, I'll wear these when it's cold. It's like, it just doesn't feel as special. But like, he sought me out because he knew I could do it, because he sees me doing this all the time, to ask me for something that he truly feels like he needs. And I agree, like it would be nice for him to have a good pair of fingerless mittens for when he's playing outside. And then of course a hat too. And he mentioned that he wanted a hat as well. And again, I'm going to talk about this at the end of the episode. So all of this is to say that it was that one request that kind of lit the flame for me to start knitting for my kids. So there's a lot to unpack here. I don't know. You can let me know if you relate to that down in the comments. I would love to hear your take on this. I know that there are so many knitters out there that are parents that, or that have children in their family or what have you, and they just knit for them endlessly and they love it. And I'm just not that person. I don't know. I don't know why. I guess I'm just maybe inherently a selfish knitter. Who's to say? But now it's changing a little bit, and I'm excited to knit my son a little pair of fire pit mitts. So that's what I have here. It's just, and I'm not finished with them yet, but it's a very short version of the fire pit mitts, because his little arms, he has little skinny wrists and small hands. He's only 7. And I didn't want it to be too long because I want it to be something he can wear with his long sleeve jackets and sweatshirts without it getting all bunched up at the wrist. But yeah, so that's what I have so far. It's not going to have, the thumb is just a basic, like it's not going to have any more length to it than this. So the thumb is finished. On his hand, the thumb kind of comes to like here. So he has all of this, about like right here. So his top of his thumb is exposed. And then these, or this will be knit to about, I would say on his hand, it'll probably come to like here. And that way his little fingers are free because they play all kinds of things out there. And so he has his little fingers free to play, but it still gives him that little extra warmth, especially when he's riding his bike and on the handlebars and all of that. So that is what these are going to be. And I just did this one. I'm going to finish this one today and probably have the second one done by tomorrow. They're super fast. Even the adult versions are super fast to knit. So if you need a really cute pair of fingerless mitts for gifts or for yourself, I definitely recommend the pattern. I guess you could say I am biased, but it is just a great fingerless mitten pattern. I was going to show these at the end, but these are the ones that, this is kind of what I originally planned when I came up with the fire pit mitts. So these are the longer version, and you can see that they're kind of tapered. As they narrow out as you get closer to your hand. But then I also have a shorter version, which is about like that for adults. And they're lovely. I love them. These were knit using Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool, which is a really great yarn if you want something hard wearing like that. So, or if you want just like a nice woolly yarn in general. But that's the fire pit mitts for the grown-ups. These are going to be Angus's fire pit mitts. Oh, before I forget, this is Fiber for the People yarn. This is in the Night Swim colorway on the Merino Alpaca 2-ply worsted weight yarn base. So it's 80% merino, 20% alpaca, baby alpaca, and it's a lovely yarn. It's really good for him too because it's soft, but yet it still has all those benefits that the wool provides. But these are the fire pit mitts for Aengus, and they're so stinking cute. So little. Yeah. Okay. So that is half of the fire pit mitts that will be coming for Aengus. I'll have those done in no time. And knitting those really makes me want to knit some more for myself, which is another thing I'm going to be mentioning later. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. I want to share with you guys my Felix pullover. I have almost finished an entire sleeve since the last time we talked last week. So I feel like that's good. Here she be. This is the Felix pullover by Amy Christophers. This is my entry into the Felix for Fall knit along that I'm hosting here on the channel. I know I will have this done by the end of December. I'll have this done by the end of November. Not sooner because it's so close. But here we have what I have so far. Oh my gosh, it's so warm. Okay, so last time we talked, I think I had only finished the body. I don't think I had started my sleeve at that point. So I was finished with the body, and then that day I started casting on the sleeve. And here is my sleeve. Now I'm doing things a little bit differently here. I'm not following the pattern completely with the sleeve. I didn't want to do any of that shaping because I was hoping to have a nice little kind of bubbly shape at the end of the sleeve. You can see that here. Yeah, you can see how it kind of, I decreased rapidly here, and then I started my ribbing, and so you have this cute little bubble shape at the end of the sleeve here. I only have about, I'm trying to make the cuff of the sleeve the same as the hemline. So yeah, I only have a little bit left, about an inch. So I have an inch left of the ribbing for my cuff, and then I will be moving on to my next sleeve. I really sort of like the way this looks without the shaping. I've never done a sleeve for a sweater without shaping. Well, I take that back. Perhaps the one that I knit with Platelope, which is that light gray one that I wore back in, I can't remember what episode that was, but a few episodes ago I was wearing a Felix Pullover that was kind of a light gray that had mohair. It kind of looked marled and tweedy. That one was modified, and I don't think I did any shaping for that, for those sleeves, and those sleeves are kind of cropped. They're like quarter length sleeves. But here, for a more like traditional fitting sweater, I haven't done anything like that before, and I think it looks really nice. I think it's going to be super cozy. And this should fit right, kind of like how this sleeve is. The end of the sleeve should come right to the top of my hand without any additional length. I was contemplating going back after finishing the sleeves and increasing the length of the sweater, ripping back all of this ribbing and adding maybe 2 inches to the length of the body. I don't know though if I'm going to do it. I'm going to wait and see until the sweater's completely finished and before blocking, put it on and see if I feel like blocking will add maybe a little bit of length to the sweater. It sometimes does. It depends on the yarn you're using. If you're using an alpaca yarn, it's going to add a ton of length. If you're using a superwash yarn, you're going to get a little bit more length because of the nature of the superwash yarn. This is an organic non-superwash merino with mohair. So there's not a lot of stretch that's bound to happen, but I'm wondering if maybe it'll do it a little bit. I don't know. I don't like to rely on blocking to make a sweater or a garment fit better. I mean, it's natural to assume that that's going to happen in certain cases. Like it's going to open your stitches up, you're going to get a little bit more space, but I don't want to rely on that to completely reshape a sweater or add, you know, a lot of length. So I don't know. I'm going to see. We'll see. After I finish the sleeve, I'll decide if I'm going to go back and add any length to it. But looking at it now, I think it's going to be good. I really like it. It's so pretty. I love the color. So warm and toasty, super cozy color. This is, I've mentioned this a lot before. This is Fiber for the People yarn. These are the 2 colors here. I've listed these down below in the description box. This is a one-of-a-kind colorway, and this is the colorway Yucca. This is the 100% organic merino worsted, and this is kid mohair silk. And that is my Felix pullover, and I'm happy with it. I'm gonna finish up that sleeve tonight. And this little mitt over here. Those are my goals for tonight's TV knitting. Okay, so now I want to share with you guys some future plans that I have in terms of things, accessories that I would like to have and that I would like my boys to have and that they have voiced kind of a desire to have moving forward into the colder weather. Knitting is kind of a funny thing because you don't realize what you need in your wardrobe until the weather cools down and you're like, oh, I could probably use another pair of mittens, or I could probably use another pair of house socks, or like a different sweater or whatever. You start to kind of think about those things. You take stock of the little things that you need that you probably should spend your time working on so that you have them for that season, especially small accessories, because you can whip those out pretty quickly and have them to wear that season. That's kind of where my mind has been. And so I want to share with you guys a couple of things I've been thinking about that I could use for knit accessories moving forward, and things that I would like to have quickly before, you know, the season is almost over. Okay, this first thing I'm sharing with you is not something I made. I did not make this, but it is a hat that I purchased this a long time ago. I can't actually remember where, but it's 100% cashmere. and it's my favorite go-to throw-on hat that is not my own hat. I really reach for this one a lot. So it's just a basic kind of rolled brim beanie. It's a real fine gauge fabric. You can see that. 100% cashmere, a beautiful yarn. This thing, I have had it for years and years and years, and it has never, ever pilled. There's not a pill on this thing. I've never picked one off. It's amazing. And that's what you get from long staple cashmere. So when you purchase something that is made of 100% cashmere and you notice it never pills, you're talking about really high quality cashmere. And that's what this is. It's the brand of this. It's Portolano. This is like the tag from the inside. I don't know. I don't remember where I got it, but I really, really love it. I wear it all the time, and I'm not trying to replace it, but what I would like to do is have something similar, obviously not as fine of a gauge as this, because this is machine knit. I wouldn't want to knit anything that, this doesn't necessarily, I'm assuming this is machine knit. One would not have to machine knit something like this. You could certainly knit this by hand, but you would be working with lace weight yarn, I have to assume. And I don't want to do that, but I wanted something similar to this that I can create for myself. And so I was looking around on Ravelry and I came up with, and I have it right here. I came up with the North Sea hat by Petite Knit. And this hat, it's really interesting. I'm going to show you a picture here. There we go. The North Sea hat by Petite Knit. It comes in a set. So when you buy the pattern, you get the pattern for the scarf and the hat. And when I look at this hat, obviously it's heavier than that, and that's fine. I just don't want it to be much heavier than that. I want it to still have a nice fine fabric. And this looks like that to me. It looks like a nice fine fabric. It has the same style. You have a basic, the crown of the hat is a basic stockinette, and then you have that ribbed brim. Let's see if we can get closer up here so you can kind of see it on her head. Really lovely. I'm loving that. Now, when I was reading the details about this, it says it's a fingering weight hat, but it says that she's holding 2 strands of Sunday by Sandnes yarn together. And that's just a light fingering weight yarn. So when you're holding 2 of those strands together, I feel like you're getting closer to a DK weight hat. But it says here that it's a fingering weight and the gauge is 30 stitches to 4 inches. I don't know. So I have plans. I have some ideas of the yarn that I would like to use for this. So North Sea hat, I would like to knit that hat to kind of be my hand knit version of this cashmere hat that I already own. And the yarn that I'm choosing for this has been in my stash for about 1.5 years now. I purchased this from Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. She is a Northern Irish dyer who dyes all of her yarn. It's all natural dyes and they're beautiful. And this is, I'll show you the yarn and then I'll tell you what it is. So it's funny when I look at it on the camera, there's a slight difference between the two. It doesn't bother me at all, but it's really beautiful. I love this kind of blushing natural color here. This is on her natural sock base. It's a 50% Blueface Leicester, 50% Cheviot wool. The color is Brunch at Mum's #1. And this is 436 yards to 100 grams. This is a really light fingering weight yarn. You can actually see that. I'm going to get it close and you can kind of see how light that is. And when I was comparing this to the Sandnes yarn for that hat, this is almost exactly it. The Sandnes yarn is 100% merino, but for the weight to yardage or meterage, it's exactly the same. And this to me, when I hold 2 of these strands together, it looks to me like a heavy fingering, almost like bordering on a sport, which I think is which looks right for what I see in that hat. So I am going to be using these together to knit myself a North Sea hat. And I'm super excited about it. It's a beautiful yarn. I'm loving the color. I've never worked with Woolly Mammoth Fiber Co. yarn before. It'll be my first time, which is fun. So I am going to probably be casting on that relatively shortly because I really would like to have that hat to wear as the temperatures really dip. It's cold, it's cool now, it's cold at night, but it's going to get cold in about 1.5 months. So I have some time. So that's my plan. Yeah, and I think that, I don't know, I mean, it's not the same color, obviously. This is more of like a nutty color. This has more of that blush to it, but I feel like it's just gonna be a nice, you know, version, like my own version of what I love so much about this. So I'm excited for that. Okay, the next thing that I would like to have is a pair of what I'm calling dog walking mittens. Now I have, like I mentioned, fire pit mitts, and I love these fire pit mitts. But the only thing is that these ones are really long, and as much as I love these long ones for certain occasions, especially if I'm wearing like a vest with a long sleeve t-shirt, this can kind of roll up over the long sleeve t-shirt. When I'm walking Pepper, for the most part, I'll probably have a coat on, or like a hooded sweatshirt or something like that. I want a pair of fingerless mitts that aren't long. I want them to come to about like here on my wrist, and that would be the fire pit mitts, but the shorter version. And so that's my plan, is I would like to knit myself a pair of fire pit mitts, shorter version, that I can wear when I walk Pepper in the mornings, because it's super chilly in the mornings. Okay, so the yarn that I want to use to create those is, part of it is this skein that I've had in my stash for a long time. This is BFL and Gotland blend. I'm not super familiar with Gotland sheep and the yarn that it produces. It's just not something I've worked a lot with. I'm very familiar with BFL, and I can definitely feel that and see that in here, but it's a blend of BFL Gotland, and it's a DK weight yarn, and it's really, really lovely. And it's the natural color of the yarn, which is nice. It has a really pretty halo as well. And I'm gonna be pairing this with a skein of Fiber for the People yarn in the evening colorway on Kid Mohair Silk. Now this is a really beautifully variegated color. You can see the variegation happening in there. And I think that it is going to be so pretty to see those two paired together in a fingerless mitten. Like super luxe, but just really interesting to look at. That variegation of the mohair over the top of the solid yarn is going to be so, so pretty, you guys. So that is my plan for creating myself a pair of dog walking fire pit mitts for walking Pepper on those cold mornings. So that is going to be something that I cast on relatively quickly. I would like to probably prioritize these even over the hat, because my hands get super cold and I already have a nice hat to wear. And those fingerless mittens are really the only ones that I have. I gave my mom the second pair that I had to take up north to Winnemucca, where she lives up there. And so that's all I have, and I need something shorter than that. So this is jumping up on my priority list, and I can't wait. Okay, last, well, yeah, it's a couple of things. My son also would like to have a hat made for him. Now, my oldest is the most eager. My youngest, I feel like I would be knitting things for him and then just seeing if he likes them. He isn't coming to me yet, asking me to knit him things. And I'm thinking that if I knit some things for my oldest, he'll become excited about it and start coming to me to ask me to make things for him. Right now, I'm kind of focusing on my oldest because he's really interested in having me knit some things for him. So one of the things that he mentioned beyond the mittens is a new hat. And I think he's thinking just a basic knit hat with a rolled ribbed brim, something really kind of fun, easy to pull on, and that's what I'm going for. And I was asking him what kind of yarn he would like me to knit this with, if he had any color preferences. And we were at Michael's the other day and stumbled upon this yarn. It is a Lion brand, it's a Heartland tweed, and he seemed to like it, and I kind of got a kick out of it too because it's super fun. So Heartland tweed, this is 100% premium acrylic. No, it's 94% acrylic and 6% rayon because it's tweed, so it has little neps in there. And I think it's fun. I am not a huge fan of knitting with acrylic, and that is a preference in terms of tactile, like a tactile preference. It is not anything other than that. It's just, I don't love working with it. I don't know. But I love this yarn, and I think it's super pretty, and I think it would make a really, really cute hat. And they had it in 2 different colors. So this is one. And honestly, they say it's premium acrylic, and I can feel that. Like, it is nice. Like, this feels nice to me. It's nice and soft, but it doesn't feel plasticky or anything like that. It's really lovely. And then this is the other color. And I say it doesn't feel plasticky. I don't mean, that sounds real, that sounds crude. Yarn never feels, I mean, I don't know, unless you're using like a real kind of cheap polyester yarn that's just really not a great yarn. Yarn doesn't feel plasticky. It's really the wrong word, because I feel like when you say that, it diminishes the value, and I don't mean that. I think I need to find a better word for that. I think what I just mean is like real slick. It doesn't feel, you don't want your yarn, unless of course you're feeling like silk or something like that, which feels different. You don't want it to feel slick. I don't know if that makes any sense. So I don't mean plasticky. I'm going to stop using that because I just don't like the way that that sounds. It's, you know, I don't know what that is. But that's not what I mean. I just mean that this feels nice. It feels like it has, you know, a wooliness to it. It has a fiber, it's a fibery feel, and I like that. And so this is some options that I have for my son's hat, something cute with a contrasting pom-pom perhaps at the top, but I really love this. And it's affordable, a nice budget option if you're looking for something for kids, for knitting hats for them, things that you can just throw in the washing machine. You don't even have to worry about it. It's going to hold up to some wear. And I think that that would be really pretty. So that is an option. This is again, Heartland Tweed by Lion Brand. And then he saw something that I had in the basket I have over by my stash. It has a bunch of things that are in the process of being frogged. I just kind of throw them in there, and then when I have some time, I come and start pulling out. And this is one of those. So this is actually a hat that I had started, but I couldn't finish because I ran out of yarn, which sucks because it would have been a really cute, like, rolled brim hat. Like, how cute would that have been? But I just didn't have enough yarn, and I really didn't want to do the whole color block thing at the top. And so I figured I'll just come up with something else for the yarn. So he saw this and he really loved it. And this is Fiber for the People yarn on my merino, on my merino Aran base in the sapphire colorway. So this is that really pretty deep blue. It's the same colorway that I have as the base of this sweater. It's just a really lovely blue, and he liked this. And I was thinking, well, why not? I mean, there's plenty of yarn here to make a hat for my son, and I needed to do something with this yarn. So I might do this first before working that, get him a nice cozy hat to wear, and it's with my own yarn, which is nice as well. So I thought it was kind of cool that he liked this. It gives me a reason to use up this really pretty yarn. So that is my plan for outfitting my oldest son with some knitted accessories and myself for the cold months ahead. My husband is pretty good. He has a hand knit Golden Knights hat that I made him a couple years ago, which he wears a lot when it gets cold. He has some fingerless mitts that he wears, fire pit mitts, and then he has a second pair, so he's good to go. The only thing I can think is that moving forward, I would really like to knit a pair of Sunday socks, both for myself and for my husband, but that is down the road from now. So yeah, so those are my plans. Those are my plans for myself. Those are my plans for my boy. And I'm excited about that. I think it'll be fun. So I will probably, when it comes to prioritizing what I'm working on, definitely finishing my Felix. All those socks that I have to work on, I think those are going to probably be on hold until after the holidays. And then once my Felix is finished, I'll be bringing that tweedy sweater back into the mix and then starting a swatch for my terrazzo. So when we meet again, I'm hoping to have a terrazzo swatch to share with you guys, a finished Felix, and perhaps some of these finished. And then maybe a future plan, like how at that point we're going to move forward. I don't know. But I've enjoyed sharing this with you guys. So yeah, that is it. That is what I have to share with you guys today. I am going to finish up here because we are making chicken and dumplings in the Instant Pot tonight, and I'm getting super hungry and I'm super excited to have dinner. But I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your weekend and beginning of your week, or whenever you happen to be watching this. It's always so lovely to spend this time with you guys. I will see you next week for the midweek ramble that's coming out on Wednesday. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be about. I have some ideas and I will keep you posted over on Instagram and here in the community tab as well. So keep your eyes posted for that. Thank you again so much. It means so much to me to have you here. If you took anything away from this episode, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. If you would like to further support the channel, check out the merch shop. There's lots of cute stuff over there. But otherwise, and in the meantime, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.